This day in sports history. It's September 21st, and on this day across the expanse of sports history, we had the most brutal hockey fight that nearly resulted in a fatality, a television debut that changed the sports landscape, and a couple of firsts, one in the NFL and one in NASCAR. That, plus a non-sports fun fact about the first known bit of corporate espionage. We've got a lot of ground to cover today, so let's get started with what happened on this day in 1969 when a hockey fight turned into a vicious assault and came close to being deadly. This was a preseason game between the Boston Bruins and the St. Louis Blues on neutral ice in Ottawa, Ontario. Wayne Maki was hoping to impress the St. Louis Blues coaches. He'd only been in the league a couple of years, starting out his career with the Blackhawks, and this was his first year with the Blues. Ted Green was an NHL veteran and one of the enforcers for the Bruins. He'd been a Bruin since 1961 and didn't have anything to prove, but he did have a reputation to maintain because he was one of the tough guys on the Bruins, earning him the nickname Terrible Ted. 13 minutes into the first period, Maki dumped the puck into the Bruins zone. Green was the first defenseman to get to it, and one thing to remember is that nobody wore a helmet in the NHL at this point. Maki got on the forecheck and he slammed Green into the boards. Well, Green was not happy about that hit, and he drove Maki to the ice, and then words were exchanged between the two. Maki then jammed his stick into Green's groin. Green retaliated by swinging his stick as if he were trying to hit one out of Yankee Stadium, and he connected with a shot to Maki's shoulder, sending him back to the ice. A penalty had been called on Green for the initial shove, and as he was skating towards the penalty box, Maki got up, turned his stick around so he was holding the blade end, and he swung the butt end of his stick at Green's head, hitting him in the temple. Green collapsed to the ice. Bruins players came to Green's rescue, pulling him off the ice, and he was rushed to the nearest hospital, where doctors discovered the blow had shattered Green's skull, sending fragments into his brain. Green's speech was slurred, and he was partially paralyzed at the moment. It took several hours to get him stabilized and for doctors to insert a metal plate to repair his cracked skull. There were a few moments when the doctors thought they were going to lose him. Green did survive, but he missed the entire 1969-1970 season. Maki was suspended for 30 days, and both players were fined $300. Assault charges were filed by the Ottawa police against both Maki and Green, and it was the first time that an NHL player had been charged for an on-ice, in-game altercation. Both men were acquitted of the charges later on. Maki played just 16 games in the 69-70 season, scoring just 2 goals. He was left exposed in the expansion draft after the season ended and wound up in Vancouver for 3 seasons. Green returned for the 1970-71 season, playing 2 more years in Boston before heading to the World Hockey Association to play with the Whalers and the Jets. On this day in 1970, Monday Night Football debuted.
15 seconds to air. Stand by, all cameras.
Ready with slow motion and isolated cameras.
Stand by, videotape, and roll tape.
The tape is rolling in less than 5, in 3, 2, 1.
Take tape.
And with that groovy music, Monday Night Football got rolling. Now, the idea for Monday Night Football came straight out of the commissioner's office. Pete Rozelle saw the popularity of baseball's Game of the Week, and he wanted a similar showcase for the NFL. The league had contracts with NBC and CBS at this point, and they were happy to show games on Sunday, but those were regional telecasts, and Rozelle wanted a showcase event. He offered his Monday night primetime idea to NBC and then CBS, but neither wanted to mess with their primetime schedule. Now, at this point, network television was everything, and the Monday through Friday primetime lineup was very rich soil. Putting a football game between 2 teams that had no connection to 99% of the country seemed like it would be a disaster ratings-wise to the networks. But ABC wasn't doing very well in the ratings. They were running a distant third in a 3-network race. But there actually was a fourth participant in the negotiations. Despite being last in the ratings, ABC wasn't overly eager to test out this new concept for a whole season, and so Roselle started talking to Howard Hughes about using his fledgling Howard Hughes Sports Network. ABC figured they were being suckered, but they had an early case of FOMO and signed on to put the NFL in prime time on Monday night. Roselle had tested the idea of a midweek game in 1964 in a game between Green Bay and Detroit. Now, it wasn't televised, but the crowd that came out to watch it exceeded everybody's expectations, and he felt strongly that this would work. With the merger of the AFL and NFL going into effect in 1970, the time was ripe for something new, and ABC was willing to give it a shot. So, on this night in 1970, the New York Jets played the Cleveland Browns. Now, there was some awkwardness in the broadcast debut, such as a split screen between Howard Cosell on the field and Keith Jackson in the broadcast booth talking about this game before it kicked off. They were instructed to act like they were in the same room and talking to each other. It just looked weird. And then, before Howard introduced the analyst for the game, Don Meredith, Cosell tossed to a video montage showing Meredith as a Dallas Cowboys quarterback getting his clock cleaned by every defensive end and linebacker in the game. Meredith was not pumped about the video montage, and more awkwardness ensued.
Dandy Don Meredith, how does it feel to review the glories of yesteryear?
How do you know y'all were going to do that? Nobody told me that. I was all set to tell you about these two quarterbacks that were going to... I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to tell you about Bill Nelson with the Browns and Joe Namath with the New York Jets.
Despite the weird start and early missteps to the broadcast, a third of American televisions tuned into this game, and it became a ratings winner for ABC. Monday Night Football was a huge innovator. They showed highlights of all the NFL games from the day before. And that was big because, well, there wasn't any other place you could see it. No ESPN, no cable channels, no 24-hour news stations at this point. Monday Night Football also focused on more than just the game. Sure, it was the centerpiece, but there was a whole lot more. They had 3 guys in the booth. They had rock stars for guests, literally. In 1974, John Lennon was interviewed by Cosell and was amazed at what a Monday Night Football game atmosphere was like, saying it made a rock concert seem like a tea party. Of course, in 1980, it would be Cosell who told the world that Lennon had been gunned down in front of his New York apartment. It was culturally significant and truly a showcase for the NFL under the lights. ABC rolled out unique graphics packages, and they were the first to show the clock on the screen. Since ABC only had the one game each week, they could devote a lot more resources to the broadcast than NBC or CBS could, who had to cover several regional games, which led to more cameras installed around the stadium for Monday Night Football. So, what happened in the game on this night? Well, Jackson called the play-by-play, Cosell and Meredith gave analysis, and they watched the Browns beat the Jets 31-21. A 95-yard kickoff return to get the second half started gave Cleveland a 21-7 lead. The Jets rallied, and they cut the Browns' lead to 3 in the fourth quarter, and with time winding down under a minute, the Jets had the ball at their own 2 with a statistically improbable chance to win or tie it up. That slim chance was snuffed out by a pick six.
47 seconds to play. The Browns lead 24-21. Before more than 85,000 people, Snido almost gets Namath. The pass is intercepted. It is intercepted by number 52, Billy Andrews. Touchdown, and no penalty flags on the field.
And so Monday Night Football was off and running, and it would build upon its early success, lifting ABC out of the ratings basement and becoming a cultural icon watched by as many as 40 million households at its peak. Monday Night Football would run on ABC exclusively until 2005. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. Sterling Soap is 100% natural, and with a variety of bath soaps, shave soaps, beard balm, lotions, cologne, and many more personal care products in a large variety of scents, you're sure to find something that's perfect for you or that special someone in your life. Check them out at sterlingsoap.com. Since we're talking about innovation, let's go to this day in 2008, when the Wildcat offense became a staple for the Miami Dolphins, and soon for several teams around the NFL. First off, if you're not familiar with the Wildcat, it was simply a direct snap to the ball carrier with the quarterback split out wide. Now, it should be noted that Miami was not the first team to use the Wildcat. Dolphins offensive coordinator Dan Henning had experimented with it when he was the offensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers. But previously, it was used once or twice a game and seen more as a trick play than a regular part of the offense. Well, that's what Miami did in the third week of the season in a game against New England. The Dolphins had been a horrible team in 2007, and that's kind of being generous. They were the worst team in the league in 07 with a 1-15 record. If it had not been for an overtime win against Baltimore in Week 14, well, they would have been winless. They had also started off the year with back-to-back losses here in 2008. So the Dolphins were searching for anything that could get their anemic offense moving, especially against the Patriots. New England was playing without Tom Brady at this point, who had torn his ACL in the season opener, and he missed the remainder of that year. Instead, it was Matt Castle who got the start. Now, that may have also figured into how this one turned out, but let's go with the Wildcat being the main reason. In the first quarter, Ronnie Brown took the direct snap, faked a handoff to Ricky Williams, and he scored from 2 yards out. Brown's second touchdown of the day came on a regular Chad Pennington handoff, but the Wildcat made another appearance in the second quarter when Brown took the direct snap and handed off to Ricky Williams for a big gainer down to the 5. A few plays later, Brown faked another handoff and sprinted in for his third touchdown of the night. Up 21-7 in the third quarter, Henning showcased the diversity of the Wildcat by letting Ronnie Brown throw the football. He went play action, rolled to his left, and hit Anthony Fasano for a 19-yard touchdown strike. By the fourth quarter, the Patriots were completely baffled. Brown took another direct snap, found a hole, and then raced 62 yards for his fourth rushing touchdown of the day, 3 from the Wildcat formation, and he also had a touchdown pass. He finished with 17 carries and 113 yards. The Dolphins won 38-13, snapping the Patriots' 25-game home winning streak. Now, is this the only reason the Dolphins went from a 1-15 team the year before, turned an 0-2 start into an 11-5 regular season in 08 and a trip to the playoffs? Well, that may be giving it a little bit too much credit, but it was certainly part of the process into the greatest improvement from one season to the next in NFL history. On this day in 1985, the Baylor Bears came up with a big upset in college football with a 20-13 win over number 3 Southern Cal. The Bears were not supposed to be very good this season. They'd been picked to finish 9th in the Southwest Conference before the season started. They turned out to be a pretty decent football team under Grant Taft, though. Baylor led 10-7 at the break. They stretched that out to a 17-7 advantage and then hung on to win 20-13. Taft called this the biggest win of his college coaching career. So either the guys doing the preseason prognostication were not very good at their job peering into the future, or this game had a drastic effect on both teams. Baylor went on a 6-game winning streak, finished the season with a 9-3 record and a win in the Liberty Bowl. The third-ranked Trojans would wallow through a tough season, finish with a 6-6 record and a loss in the Aloha Bowl. On this day in 2003, Ryan Newman benefited from a new rule, so much so that he won the race. The NASCAR boys were in Dover, Delaware, racing on the Monster Mile on this day. It was a scary situation the week before that prompted this rule change. During the running of the race at Loudon, Dale Jarrett crashed. Well, the rule up to that point was when a caution flag came out, drivers raced back to the line, and that determined the restart order on the next green. Well, as Jarrett sat on the track without the ability to move his car, drivers flashed by him, with Casey Mears nearly colliding with him. So, the rule that went into effect on this day became known as the lucky dog or free pass rule and was hoped to be a safety measure to prevent guys from crashing into wrecked race cars. So, once a flag came out, the field was frozen. The driver that was the first lap car got the free pass to join the tail end of the lead lap. Well, on this day, Ryan Newman cut a tire early in the race. His green flag pit stop caused him to go a lap down. When the fifth caution of the day came out, he was the beneficiary of the new rule, and he got to join the tail end of the lead lap. From there, he started picking off drivers one by one and moved back up to the front. He made a fuel gamble with 106 laps to go, and he led the rest of the way, finishing on fumes for his 7th win of the season. In the first race it was possible, Newman became the first winner under the lucky dog rule. It's only happened 9 times since, with Newman one of only 2 drivers to win twice from a lap-down position. And I'll finish off today's episode with what happened on this day in 1975 that you have no doubt benefited from at any live football game you've been to in the last, 50 years or so. For the first time during an NFL game, the head ref was equipped with a wireless mic to announce penalties and clarify complex calls on the field. And without it, we wouldn't have gotten this gem from 1986.
Personal foul.
We'll pick this up.
On number 99 of the defense. After he tackled the quarterback, he's giving them business down there at the 15-yard penalty.
The old giving him the business penalty call. The NFL was the first league to adopt the new technology. And time now for today's non-sports fun fact. In 1848, the British East India Company sent a spy on a trip to China's interior. Now, that part of China was forbidden to foreigners, so the spy dressed up in Mandarin garb and traveled with a Chinese servant. He was able to infiltrate a tea production plant and learn the secrets of drying, cooking, rolling, and sorting the tea leaves. And it was one of the first known instances of corporate espionage. That's all I've got for you today. This and every episode of This Day in Sports History is researched, written, voiced, and produced by me, Steve White. Enjoy the rest of your day. I will see you back here tomorrow for another edition of This Day in Sports History. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.